welcome to Fandom Post Radio. I am Kestrel. We have Brandon.
Hello.
And we have Kane.
Hello, hello.
And that's it. We're right at the end of the year here, trying to get in one more episode about the fall 2025 season before
it's boys' night.
Boys' night.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that. That's really that's all I have in the tank.
Probably next episode will also be boys' night, just also with Mark. I think we could say Mark is a man. The three of us were the boys.
Mark is a man. He's dad.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No mom or dad this episode, just the kids.
Just the kids.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Mark to be on next, and one of us will be like, "Your turn, Daddy," and then we'll just see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, we've got some news to get into first. So, first piece of news, little announcement about some new Evangelion short coming out for the 30th anniversary. For some reason,
Japanese people only.
Yeah. Well, Japanese people and all of my friends who are going to be in Japan for this exhibit.
Dang.
Yeah, not understand it necessarily. But yeah, it's going to be at the Evangelion 30th anniversary special event in Japan, which for some reason is happening next year, even though it turned 30 this year. Granted, it was this last season that it turned 30, but still. Yeah, it's going to be 13 minutes long. That's about all we know about it. Yeah.
So we don't know if it's like new material or just kind of remastered or anything like that. It's pretty much a mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it would be new. I don't know how important it will be, but... Yeah.
Right. This is a dumb question. So... does he own the rights to that now, or is that Kara? Like, now that Gainax is done, I mean, I don't know if they owned Evangelion or anything like that beforehand. I don't pay that much attention to the business side of that kind of stuff, but now that they are gone, is he, like, the rights holder for...
He being Anno.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Kara
I don't know
had
if that's
gotten...
how it always was, but...
Yeah. Since he's, like, the creator... Kara had gotten the rights to the franchise quite a while before Gainax went under officially. And then, yeah, when Gainax was completely gone, then Kara inherited like the trademark and a few other things of Gainax itself. But yeah, all the rights to Evangelion obviously were very important to own, and along with the rebuilds, it has continued to be published and licensed out over the years. So that's all been under Kara's umbrella for quite a while now. And they were the ones who like supervised the redubbing and new subtitle script and all that. There was like an in-house translator that worked on that. So yeah, and Anno is, I don't know what the percentages are, but he's effectively the owner of Kara, I think.
That would make sense. Did he start it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that tracks. Granted, once again, I don't know a whole lot about the business, but I feel like if you create it without actively selling it, you probably also are a major stakeholder, if not majority, but yeah.
Yeah, it's always been kind of, the purpose of Kara to make Ava with the guys who made Ava at Gainax. So, yeah, obviously it is one of the most profitable franchises in Japan, so they have kept a very tight leash on it. And,
that's cool that they're getting something new, though, even if it is a short. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and Anno is credited as planner, scriptwriter, and chief supervisor. Looks like an animation director from the last film is actually directing it. And then the other rebuild directors who had also worked with Anno on the original series are also supervising it. Tsurumaki Higuchi, Iki Todoroki. So
It's a really lavishly made Pocari Sweat commercial.
yeah, right. For 13 minutes.
Yeah, the build up to that.
It's every major battle or whatever, but instead of how it originally ended, it ends because of Pocari Sweat.
Every angel has like a brand deal stapled to them.
Yeah.
Yep. All the crosses have Pocari Sweat signs hanging off of them.
Yeah, they're gonna have Kamen Rider just show up. Doesn't matter anymore.
That's true. Yeah, this is the big opportunity for the whatever it's called, Shin Japan Heroes something universe.
Yeah, just do the full crossover already. We've been waiting.
Oh, it's just Shin Japan Heroes universe. Yeah, that. Yep, we'll see.
We're pretty good at manifesting these things, so
that's true. Yeah. Shin Evangelion. So yeah, that's that. We'll see what it ends up being. We'll find out surely, and hopefully it will be available to us at some point. Next piece of news. So Anime Limited has been, kind of the biggest independent anime company in the UK and Ireland for quite a while now. And they had been acquired by a company called Plyon Pictures a few years back. And now it was announced that Toho has acquired Anime Limited from Plyon. So just like they did with G-Kids, they've acquired kind of the European equivalent of G-Kids. The two companies, G-Kids and Anime Limited, release a lot of the same titles and even share the same packaging and discs and extras and all that stuff. For example, Evangelion, speaking of, you pop in those G-Kids discs, you'll see an Anime Limited logo first thing. So they don't even bother reauthoring it to that point. So it kind of makes sense, but yeah, Toho is continuing to expand not only its anime footprint, but its international anime licensing footprint in the same way that they did with G-Kids for the US.
You said this
more
was
distribution's good.
You said for Europe?
Yeah, Anime Limited is primarily UK and Ireland.
I wonder, was there any presence outside of them before, or is this a not official business, so to speak, but now they won't have to import or buy anything weird? I'm not sure what the European thirst for anime really is, to be honest.
I mean, I don't, with the acquisition of G-Kids, I don't know that it's going to immediately change that much. I think at this point in the UK, it has kind of been what manga entertainment became, which was another subsidiary of Crunchyroll, just branded as Crunchyroll, like everything else. So it's been kind of that and Anime Limited as far as the big names that I've been aware of. And Anime Limited has been putting out a ton of stuff, and they've expanded into the US and Canada as well. They've done some, Region A Blu-rays. They've done some 4Ks. They've done a lot of vinyl pressings that are sold in the US as well as the UK.
I just realized I didn't realize they were all the anime, because
yes.
I've definitely gotten a vinyl from them before.
Yes, Anime Limited / all the anime. They're kind of weird with their branding sometimes, but yeah, I think it'll be like G-Kids, where they've been licensing a ton of stuff anyway, and now they'll just probably have a more direct route to Toho licenses.
More vinyl, the better. More wax.
More wax. Yeah, so that's that. And then there's a bunch of news from Jump Festa, which happens at the end of every year. and I'll just kind of go through the big announcements, and we can decide if there's any of them we want to talk more about. So, we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia this episode. The series just ended its final season. Story is complete. However, there was an extra chapter of the manga that was published after the manga series wrapped, and it was announced at Jump Festa that there will be an extra episode for the 10th anniversary, and I think it's just going to be an OVA on like the final Blu-ray, and it's going to adapt that final or that extra chapter that was published after the manga ended. So that's one piece of news. Sakamoto Days Season 2 was announced. Mashal Season 3 was announced for 2027. Kaiju number 8 final chapter announced. A Kochikame anime, new anime reboot was announced for its 50th anniversary. And probably the biggest news is the Chainsaw Man Assassins arc anime was announced. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the big things.
I mean, the big news is more Mashal, baby.
So that one's interesting because it's crazy to me that they announced 2027. Like, that's I get that they want to keep people like, remember Mashal, like we're gonna have more of that, but like it's a year plus out. That's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, actually there were quite a few announcements for 2027. Some of these were, the anime themselves were already announced, whereas like Mashal Season 3 wasn't, but now they were given dates, or at least years, which was 2027. So that includes Oblivion Battery Season 2, Dawn to Dawn Season 3, and the next Haikyuu film. Those are all coming 2027.
Gotcha. So for me personally, the two big ones were, one was a big one that I didn't happen, and one was Ruri Dragon.
Okay, yeah,
so,
that was gonna be my next piece of news that didn't come out of Jump Festa.
Was that not at Jump Festa?
No, that was announced like a day or two ago.
Okay, well, before that, then the thing I was pretty certain that was gonna happen soon was Kagurabachi getting an anime.
I know, right?
Announced, and it still hasn't, which is so crazy to me because I'm pretty sure it is easily one of the big hitters right now, and I feel like it's kind of like, I don't know, they're squandering an opportunity because I feel like it's at the peak of its success right now in terms of how many eyes are on it. It's just weird to me. I would think that one would have gotten an announcement by now.
Yeah.
Has it had a big like popularity spike or a critic review? Like, I don't read the manga, but I do remember when it came out, it had a lot of hype behind it for a few weeks. But I mean, as a bystander, it feels like it's fizzled.
Well, I think that's part of it, is that it had a massive wave of hype leading up to it that people are like, oh, is this going to be like the next JJK? Like, people were expecting this to be like the next Pillar. And that was obviously not going to be attainable to the levels of hype it was getting. But I still think it has it has been a very good manga from the get-go. And I think its numbers are doing great too. Like, yeah, it's not going to be a Naruto or something in terms of sheer, volume and social like spreading, but I do think it is one of their top engaged with, at least from the US audience. It's definitely one of the top engaged with. So yeah, I just fully expected it to have an announcement by now, because for a title with its popularity, Jump are usually pretty quick within like a year or two to publish or at least announce an anime. But I mean, I think it's getting closer to its second year now.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
Several things. I would say all of those series that you think like, wow, this could be the next X. The average person who doesn't read Jump doesn't know about X until it gets an anime. Like, we weren't all talking about Demon Slayer or JJK until it had an anime, and then it blew up, and then the manga blew up and became, a 10 times bigger seller than it was before the anime started. So, yeah, I think Kagurabachi doesn't feel like any of those titles yet, and probably never will, but we'll never really know until it gets an anime, because that is the only thing that can propel a series to that level. And yes, it's been running for over 2.5 years now. It's over 100 chapters deep. And over a year ago, it was like kind of leaked that Cygames Pictures was working on an anime adaptation of it, but never officially announced. And there has been no update in over a year. So it's very strange.
That's weird. That kind of worries me that there's just like something behind the scenes is not working out, but yeah, we'll see. I want to hold out hope that it gets the JJK treatment and not the One Punch Man treatment. We'll see.
Yeah. Was there anything else on that list we wanted to talk about? Or we want to move into Ruri Dragon?
I have a question for Brain about.
Yes.
About Mashal.
Okay.
Because you've read the manga, right?
Yes. I reviewed basically the whole thing for Fandom Post.
Are we getting into good or where are we headed?
Well, depends what you have thought up to this point. If you thought it was good, I
really liked it.
I'm trying to remember where it ended at. He had his first meeting with the big bad, right? And it's with Zero or whatever.
The guy who can control time and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then fucking Dumbledore fights him.
Yes. So what I will say is that the action becomes a lot more of the focus in the stuff going forward, and a lot more of the ensemble cast gets time, which what you already saw a little bit in the previous season, which, for a lot of people, it's like, well, when the focus isn't the comedy or MASH, it kind of drags. And I feel like that is something that plagues this series the whole time. But I will say some of the best MASH content isn't until the end. So it's kind of like, you hopefully just it's fun all the way through. And then once MASH is front and center again, it's just peak comedy. And I think we're in for some good content.
Nice. I mean, there's some good side characters in that. They're not all A+, but I mean, Siscon guy is great.
Yeah, one of the few Siscon characters that's pretty tolerable.
Yeah, he's one of the very, very few. So
yeah.
I just wanted to ask because I know that you were you laid some groundwork as well at one point for Kaiju number 8 when we were talking about that and where that was kind of headed. So I wanted to pick your brain on hype levels for Mashal going into that as well.
For sure. I think at the very least, Mashal has a pretty steady working toward a conclusion, and similarly to Kaiju number 8, I think they do end sort of abruptly, but Mashal's feels better, and Kaiju number 8 is just wow, I feel like I wasted my time on this. So we'll see how that pans out in the anime, because the Kaiju number 8 anime has been much better, I think, than the manga. But
that anime has been good. Kestrel, there was a Kaiju number 8 announcement in there too, right?
I believe. Yeah. They call it the final chapter, so I assume they're at the point that it's going to be one more season of the anime.
Part 1 of 3.
Yeah, right. Hey, My Hero Academia didn't do that. It's over for real. Well,
and I think
I just
for real +1. Yeah.
Well, I think Kaiju number 8's a much shorter manga, right?
Yeah, it kind of did the Demon Slayer where it's people really started its popularity hit a point because the anime started, and then the manga was just all right, we're done.
Right.
I'm done here. So
get out while the getting's good.
Yeah, I guess.
the opposite.
Get out while there's still much money to be made.
Yeah, well, it's still popular enough that I can make a ton of money before I fade into obscurity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one other thing that I just remembered is the Chainsaw Man Assassins arc was maybe briefly leaked to be a movie, and then taken down. So we're going to assume it's a movie until announced otherwise.
Yeah, that one is kind of hard to parse because like this next part specifically being called the like assassination arc or whatever, only covers like a certain amount of chapters that would fall just about like half of the amount of chapters covered in the first season. So I feel like it has to be a movie unless they're doing a like kind of what JJK did where like they announced that first prequel arc for season 2 that followed up with the Shibuya arc. So it could be something like that where like they're just like announcing it in its specific little chunks. But yeah, I mean, hey, the last movie banged, so I would not mind if it was also a movie.
Yeah, last movie was amazing, did amazing. It's roughly the same number of chapters for this arc. It makes total sense, and they essentially leaked it already. So yeah, we are assuming it's a movie.
Yeah, I honestly feel like that might be I don't know, maybe Shonen Jump is going to do a thing where like their premiere titles are going to be movies and like their, by the books kind of like Sakamoto Days ends up just being like, oh yeah, we'll throw 12 episodes on Netflix or whatever, but
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing a continuing evolution of those trends where My Hero Academia kind of established the seasonal format, and then Demon Slayer made it impossible to ignore the potential of the movie format.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other bit of Jump news that came a week or so after the Jump Fest event was Ruri Dragon will be made into an anime by Kyoto Animation, which is definitely the first Jump adaptation by KyoAni. Pretty different from anything they've done, really, I would say. So, yeah. I'll let you talk about that.
Well, I feel like, yes, it is very odd to see a Shonen Jump KyoAni crossover, but Ruri Dragon itself as a series is kind of like a weird standout for Jump, where it is very much not the, like typical Jump story, but it did such like stupid, crazy numbers when its first volume dropped. And then this series is so weird because they put out like 5 chapters and it blew up in popularity. And then the manga artist was like, dog, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And then they took like months and months off. And then they only came back almost like a year after those first 5 chapters came out. And now it has been on like maybe a bi-weekly schedule. But yeah, I mean, that still only has maybe 50 chapters. And it's one of those shows where the plot really doesn't move an inch. So it feels right up KyoAni's alley, where it's just like cute girls in school and nothing's really happening, but like it's a very conversational, character-driven show, and I feel like it's perfect for them. So wild announcement that I never could have seen coming, but it makes so much sense that it's real. Yeah. Definitely keep your eyes peeled for that one. That's I don't know if did they put a date on it? I think they teased that it didn't have like an actual date on it, which would make sense.
Yeah, right, because they were like announcing their next few productions, and it was like 2025, 2026, and then 20 Jump mascot face.
Yeah, yeah, I was like, okay, interesting. Yeah, and then it grew the horns. But yeah, I think that one's definitely one to keep an eye on. But yeah.
Always down for KyoAni.
Yeah.
And then speaking of big Jump hits, we'll just do our regular check-in on the Demon Slayer movie. And this might be the last time there's anything significant to update on it. But yeah, it's almost at 800 million. As of this recording, Avatar Fire and Ash has not yet grossed more than Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. So we'll draw that line in the sand at this particular moment. Might not be true by the time you hear this episode, but right now it is, I promise. And in terms of R-rated movies, it has surpassed the lifetime worldwide gross of both Deadpool and Deadpool 2 to become the fourth highest grossing R-rated film of all time. Yeah. And also the series is now the fifth highest grossing R-rated film series of all time. And so it was, the second highest grossing traditionally animated film of all time after The Lion King, which is still true. However, that's from The Lion King's re-releases. Its initial gross, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, has now surpassed. So, it's now the highest grossing initial gross of a traditionally animated film of all time.
Absolute insanity. This big Michael Jordan numbers.
Literally built different.
Yeah. And it's only one of three.
Oh, so, man.
Bigger than two Deadpools and a Lion King.
That's so crazy.
And Avatar for the moment.
Yeah, that's such a good point too. It's the first of three.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen it, so I don't know how much it covers, but like probably it doesn't even have like the best of the battles in it, which will probably be the second, maybe into the third.
They're gonna have to like create a new number for the final movie for the amount of money it can make.
The boards are not even gonna be able to list the number. It's just gonna say like N/A.
Yeah.
Or like, what does it say in Excel spreadsheets when the number's too big? Just like #ref on it.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun to see the total of all of them when they're all done.
And how much of Japan's GDP it then makes up.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, that was the news that I had.
Okie doke. Well, I'm just going to put this out here. I know we're going to talk about the season, but we're just doing it so that we can fully immerse ourselves in the world of Frieren in the next week or two. So, it is what it is. That's what everyone's looking forward to. But there were some shows that were surprising successes. We had one major ending that we want to talk about a little bit with Brandon Kestrel here. So I think we'll get started on the one show that we all have in common. And I know that I was a little bit down on it recently, but I was honestly pleasantly surprised with how this season of Spy Family went. I was a little bit cynical when I was hearing about how, it's getting like serious and we're getting into like darker territory and stuff like that. And I figured, like, no way, this is a family comedy sitcom thing at the end of the day. And I know there's some big spy thing going on, but this show hasn't given a real shit about that in ages. So, what could possibly happen? And to my surprise, some stuff happened. Like, we got some long-awaited meetings between major characters. Granted, they aren't entirely aware, at least both sides of it. We got another award for Anya in school, which, granted is not a whole lot of progress, but gets her one step closer to Operation Strix on her end, as well as a growing relationship, if rocky, relationship with Fail Son.
Fails.
So I was pleasantly surprised. I can't say there were a lot of moments where I was really like laughing out loud outside the bus episode, because Anya is really great in the bus hostage arc. I think that's some of her best material in the series so far, period. Especially when I think my favorite moment of the show in a very long time, and I had to pause it because I was laughing so hard, was she gets the bomb strapped, like the fake bomb strapped to her neck, and then Damien also does, and when he walks back, she just goes, "Look, we match." And it freaks him the fuck out.
Something I do like about the hijacking arc is that it definitely shows that Anya's abilities to read minds is very OP, especially in a situation like that. But I do like that the author knew enough to like nerf her a bit by everyone else freaking out. It kind of like zapped her own brain a little bit, so she couldn't just like, put the whole team on her back. There was still some drama going on before she could convince the hijackers to stop.
Yeah, and I believe that's happened before, so that's not like a out of nowhere thing.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they factored it in to show that it is OP, but until maybe she gets older, theoretically, however long this anime manga goes, and if there are any time skips or anything into the future for whatever reason, that's always going to be a problem because she is a small child. So she can be easily overwhelmed in a room with a lot of people with a lot of emotional heights going on. It was also nice to see, as a part of that arc, Damien's mom and a little bit more about his like familial connection to not only her but his dad, because all the parents came to get their kids and Damien's dad didn't, which kind of cements that idea that he is very much so not really seen as a successful kid in the family, or at least he hasn't proven himself yet. I don't really know if he's considered a failure in the family. He's so very, very young, but his dad clearly doesn't give a shit about him.
Yeah. And the reveal of the mom, like her inner thoughts when picking up Damien, was really cool. Just dichotomy of how she carries herself.
Yeah, and it's like the second you mention dad, like a switch flips in her brain that she turns off her, I guess you could call her like instinctual mom stuff, and it turns into a very like political and angry emotional thing because the dad was mentioned. So obviously that points towards the relationship between mom and dad, which is strained, to put it in the very least, based off of what we know.
Yeah. Kane, I was curious how you felt about the Lloydie like flashback arc, because just in terms of you talking about how people were saying, "Oh, this season's going to get darker and like more like gritty," and I mean, I feel like they definitely jumped into that right away in the season with Lloyd's background.
Yeah, I've spent some time thinking about it, and I wish we, I don't know, would have gotten a little bit more, would have seen something, because I do agree that it added some seriousness, but I think the problem that I had with it is I don't necessarily see how it connects to the way Lloyd is now, outside of he works for the government and lies for a living, which is a big deal, but it was kind of like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I watched him like, this is tragic, and then he finds his friends, and then his friends like die again later, and it kind of hardens him to life. Honestly, I wish his friends would have got blown up in that fucking building.
I think,
like,
I think that was one of the biggest.
Later.
That was one of the biggest missteps. Is I was like, I feel like this is where that should have hit. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that may be
cemented
my
it.
biggest problem with it is like it should have hit there. That would have been a huge traumatic thing and like a real step for the show being like this is what war is like. But instead they reunite later and yeah, they die later, but they also die like off screen
Hmm.
and they're just kind of like written off like that's what war's like, but it is undeniable that the characters, when you see them as adults, it changes your mental view of them because now they're soldiers and they talked about signing up willingly and all this other stuff. And it's sad that they died, but they died off screen and they died as soldiers and adults rather than innocent kids being blown
Casualties
up.
of the war.
Yeah, casualties
Yeah.
of the war rather than pieces involved in it. So
Yeah, especially since like Lloyd's introduction, basically in the first episode, his serious defining moment is like, I want to create a world where innocent children don't die in war anymore. And
Yeah.
it was all set up. All of his innocent child friends were supposed to have died in the war. But then they're just like, oh, no, we got better. And now we're soldiers and we can go to war. And if we die, then it makes sense. And then they do, and it's anticlimactic.
yeah, it removes the gravity of the situation, and I think that was the problem that I had. Is that yes, it's dark and gritty, but they did a rug pull on you in the final moment, and I don't know how the manga goes if it does the same thing or if this is an anime choice. But it does take away from some of the gravity of it, and pulled me out of the immersion to be like, oh yeah, that's right. This is a shonen show, so it can only do so much based off of the rest of the vibe of the show. Like, they don't want to throw child death at you immediately. They've barely killed anybody else. Like, despite the enormous international political stakes at hand, like, Lloyd barely kills anyone, despite being in many situations where he should. He just kind of knocks them out, you know.
I mean, yours
Power
got the
Rangers.
biggest body count. She's the one of killing
Yeah,
people.
she's the one that's killing, and she just hasn't done it in a while because she, I guess, hasn't been on a job or something like that. But yeah, she's been doing more of the killing, but as an assassin for hire, not as a political spy behind enemy lines and stuff. So
Yeah. I feel like as a manga reader, just like knowing the pace of how this series goes, it is, they're walking a fine line of like, yes, it's still an entertaining show, and they try to give enough time to like each character where they can, but I don't know, I think there just needs to be more. Like, the most like quote unquote development we got for Yor this season was her being like, do I like Lloyd? I'm gonna get drunk and forget all about it. It's like we're just inching forward, and knowing what's happening in the manga, it's like, man, it's really gonna take a while to feel like anything actually happens in this series in terms of the anime. But
yeah. And
Yeah.
I guess by saying something actually happened, it's both a compliment. It's like a backhanded compliment of sorts, because when then you then boil it down, it's like some stuff did happen, but more should have. But it's
the
nice
status
that
quo
something
wasn't really changed.
Right. Even
Yeah.
when stuff happens, that doesn't really change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that part's true. I think it was just nice to see something that felt like progress, like Damien and Anya getting along enough that it feels like some progress could be made.
Yeah.
To go to Damien's house or whatever someday. You're becoming friends with the mom group that includes Damien's mom. I'm like, at least there's like some building blocks being set here, and we're not doing just a whole season of Lloyd gets into a backhoe duel with a drunk, angry worker at a construction site.
Yeah.
And it's just like monster of the week bullshit. But yeah, once again, Yor kind of gets the short end of the stick. I know last season was like she got some good stuff on the boat arc, but this season, it definitely felt more of the same of she doesn't know how to be a wife or mom and frets about it, and Lloyd gets all flustered because he doesn't know how to read the situation, and we go from there. Which is sad because she's super interesting and has a lot going on in her life. that the most you even got between her and Yuri was just Lloyd being like, well, I can't kill him because then she might divorce me, and then that's like it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
you would hope
overall, I
that
did
like
still like the season. Like it had
Yeah.
some really good little mini arcs, like the bus hostage thing, and the showdown in the sewers was really good too. Plus, at one point, Lloyd does have a fucking suitcase machine gun.
That's sick, yeah.
Yeah, which was sick. And I think he killed a guy there. You don't see him die, but he definitely shot him.
Yeah. I feel like after the second season or the third season, you just kind of have to come with the grips of, am I here because I just like the formula, or do I want something to happen? Like, do I
Right.
want the plot to go on? Because if you're wanting this plot to move forward, like, you're not going to have a good time staying on this boat. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
it's
think
like you
it
said,
might
though,
be
still an
worth it.
enjoyable season for what it is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of similar to Ranma in how episodic it is. It has, a few 2 or 3 episode arcs each season at least. But I guess in terms of they both will introduce new characters that create new dynamics, which technically changes something, just not necessarily the status quo or any real plot progression.
Yeah. I think Ranma gets a pass from me on that, though, because I don't have the same expectations of it. Like, Ranma to me is like a pure comedy thing. The stakes are so much smaller. It's just Ranma wants to not change into a girl, and then there's this whole wedding angle, which is mainly just a joke. While Spy Family is like Cold War politics, stopping the world from exploding and bus hijacking, hostage. Like, the stakes are so much higher inherently that you feel the glacial pace way more than Ranma just not getting anywhere when it comes to curing his I turn into a girl when I get splashed by water, because you really don't care.
Yeah.
Like
It's funny the way you frame it is that it basically Spy Family, it having like a very good premise is working as a detriment to it.
Yeah.
In that, like, the world is very interesting and you want to see like, oh, what's going to happen in this like Cold War scenario, and this like family that's like hanging on the brink of it all. And it just set up so interesting, and then none of it moves. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And compared, like you said, to Ranma, it's like I'm not expecting like huge revelations every episode.
Yeah, the most you'll get is maybe Ranma will actually find a way to not turn into a girl all the time, which is fine, but it doesn't matter. Or maybe he will end up marrying one of the girls eventually, who knows, but it doesn't really matter either. And yeah, that's a good way to frame it, Brain. Yeah, that its great premise is a detriment, which is mainly just a choice by the mangaka and stuff too. So it's more just, I don't know, wasted talent in a way, where it's like they could do so much with it and just choose not to for the comfort of a week in, week out pseudo comedy, which I've become comfortable with it at this point, where I'm happy with small changes like what I was talking about, because I'm not expecting as much, but I still need to see something.
I think the thing is, it gives you this premise that sounds like it's from a serious series that will have plot progression initially, but from the very first chapter or episode, it is very clearly a comedy, and nothing about that ever really changes. And I think maybe its success has allowed it to be more episodic and stretched out more, just as a result of, if we go anywhere with the plot, then we can't have these episodic comedy hijinks anymore, and then we can't keep going forever. But I feel like it was never really promising that much happening. It just happens to have a premise that could lead to that. I think Gintama kind of does it the best way and kind of the opposite way, in that it has a light but interesting premise that could lead to something serious, and spends hundreds and hundreds of episodes just being a pure gag anime, and it's great and it's hilarious and you don't really expect anything else, but then eventually circles back around to telling some serious stories with that initial premise, which maybe Spy Family will also do. It's nowhere near as long as Gintama, but I guess just the fact that, well, one, Gintama is funnier, and two, it didn't necessarily put as much detail into its premise at the beginning, kind of maybe helps it get more of a pass that allowed it to go on for hundreds of episodes without doing literally anything with the plot.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would tend to disagree, at least in terms of it's not promising anything, because then why would you give us Lloyd shaped by the horrors of war and these like serious sewer encounters between state security and them, which is not a comedy at all and is not really presented in the moment as a comedy, if you're not trying to at least keep a world built in a story going that there's some serious backbone to it. Because if you don't have any intention of delivering on that at all, then why even, tease us with any of it?
But
like,
I mean,
what's the point?
You did get several episodes of that in this season, like,
But then you said that Spy Family was not trying to do that. You said it wasn't going to promise any of that. Well, if it's not promising it, then why is it even attempting it? If it's not going to actually do that.
I'm saying its first several seasons were pretty much pure comedy, and now we're getting some serious episodes, but I don't think that it's like really not delivering on a promise made earlier. If anything, it's the opposite. It's giving us some of those serious moments that weren't necessarily obvious from the first couple seasons, like that Lloyd backstory arc was pretty much zero comedy for 2 or 3 episodes. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like doing anything amazing, but I don't think it promised a whole lot in like its setup that it's not necessarily delivering on. It's just kind of taking its time.
I think the creator is just kind of like trying to have his cake and eat it too, of just like appeasing, like he's not fully committing on either side of it. Like he wants it to be like a goofy slice of life, like family rom-com thing, but I think there's also, I mean, he has a background as an editor for like a lot more serious work as well. So I think he wants it to be both, and that at the end of the day is going to kind of pull the audience in 2 different directions, where some people are like, I love when the episode is just like Anya going to the zoo, and then there's going to be other people that are like, when is Lloyd going to find out that you're an assassin? It's just like, by not committing either way, the author is creating this divide in the audience. So I think it's part of it is that there's just like, yeah, this series is trying to be everything it can be. It's just, and it works against it in some ways.
Yeah, and I think that is because it found so much success in the comedy and in like the Anya antics, and so that's what he's pushed to do more of, and make sure that nothing can interfere with that continuing to be the subject matter. And yeah, not only has he been an editor on a lot of serious series, but all of his previous series, which were all much shorter, were serious. They weren't comedies. And Spy Family itself was not supposed to be a comedy originally. So yeah, he happens to be very good at comedy, but I guess didn't really intend for that to be the main draw, which, might explain why we have such an interesting premise, because he may have come up with the premise with the idea of a serious manga, but by the time page 2 of chapter 1 happened, it was very clearly not the focus. It was more about the comedy. So,
and by the time that Anya merch money rolled in, he's like, all right, I guess I'll give her a much more substantial role in this whole thing.
Right, because Lloyd was set up as the protagonist initially, and then it very clearly became Anya once she became so popular. And
I think he has a classic Gojo situation going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And her stories are inherently going to be lighter than the spy or assassin as, a 4-year-old gremlin.
Yeah, it's a really fine line, and he hasn't done himself any favors by making the two sides as disparate as they are. It isn't like trying to balance comedy and drama when, your premise is some, like Succession, the show I'm watching right now. You can put comedy in there. You can put comedy in there a little more easily because at the end of the day, it's a show about a family that kind of hates each other and whatever. But these two sides where it's like on one side, we have a Cold War with all these hardened characters. And on the other side, we have Anya joking about, being hungry on a bus and peeing herself, and then her friend has to say he'll just shit himself on the bus.
But that dichotomy was always Spy Family. It was always its selling point, was the juxtaposition between those two extremes. That was episode 1. So I don't think it has betrayed anything from that. It's just that by trying to, have its cake and eat it, it gets into this just perpetual status quo of episodic shenanigans. Yeah.
The very first bit of Lloyd spitting his coffee out kind of sums that whole thing up.
Exactly. That's like one of the first panels, one of the first seconds of the show.
Yeah.
Because the whole point was, let's give you this very serious, very gritty premise that, you've kind of seen the formula throughout the decades in various media, and we'll establish that with each of the characters in some way. Like, they could be the star of a very serious, gritty series, and let's put them together in this hilarious combination of misadventures and misunderstandings. And that has always been the identity, the fabric of Spy Family.
I do think this has a surprising thing in common with a show we talked about a few minutes ago in Mashal, in that I hope the side characters don't get as much tension anymore, because, I don't need any more Frankie and What's-Her-Face side plots.
Oh, yeah.
Well, to me, that was a fucking dud. I don't really care about Frankie. I don't need to know about him outside of that. And same with the silver-haired lady outside of the tennis thing, which had Lloyd involved. So it was at least with a main character. But I really don't need focus on some of these side characters because I do not think they can hold water on their own, especially Frankie. No disrespect, but his whole character is just, I can't get women.
All the disrespect to Frankie.
Yeah.
Yes.
With all due respect, fuck you, Frankie.
I mean, Frankie's entire character is to be disrespected, so it's only appropriate.
That's true. If anything, I'm just doing him a solid by keeping that going.
But yeah, especially when we get so little of Yor in particular. Half an episode of Frankie sucking can be fun here and there, but when we have so little of real Yor focus, not really worth it.
Yeah, it does feel like it's just stealing a spotlight from someone who's infinitely more interesting.
Give Bond more screen time. Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That I would be okay with. getting Bondo more screen time. Speaking of Bondo, you guys said you haven't watched the last episode yet?
No, I am not finished on it, but we both read it, so you can.
Well, I don't know if what happens is in the manga at all. Just make sure you watch to the end because there's a very adorable Bond and Anya animation music video for 45 seconds.
Oh, that's cute.
that's very very cute. It has like a fun coloring book aesthetic,
Hmm.
like almost like not watercolor, but kind of feels like colored pencils and like very pastel-y, sort of based off of a joke that happens like right before the ending, essentially. So it's very
Love
adorable.
that.
So definitely recommend, because you get, if you stay after the credits, you get some weird little recap that feels like a K-drama recap, and then
Hmm.
you get this little music video that's fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, are we Spy Family'd out?
Yeah,
We're probably good.
honestly, that was way more than I expected
I
us
know,
to
right?
talk about it. I was like, this is the one I have the least things to say about. And lo and behold,
Well, I think that
Yep.
would have been the case if they didn't at least attempt like the school bus thing and the sewer thing and all that. Like if it was just more comedy, I feel like it would have been a lot less to talk about. But they did, like we talked about, attempt some plot maneuvering. But we can move on. So I think since we're still in the tail end of the season, one of the shows I definitely want to hear about, that we've talked very briefly, I think, and has been recommended to me, as well as I think Chris has talked about it in our chats a little bit. But Bran, you, sir, have watched the Sonda anime.
yes, I'm the sole Sonda of the podcast. This is an interesting show, and I I hope there's going to be more of it because I feel like what I feel about it so far is pretty good, pretty hopeful, but it feels like there still needs to be more time to cook. But just for some background, this is a series from Paru Itagaki,
Yeah.
who she did Beastars, famously the daughter of the writer for Baki. So like very different kind of things that they create. But Sanda is a very interesting series because it's trying to tell a story about um the coming of age teenage years, like the fine line between what does it mean to be a child, what does it mean to be an adult, and like what is it about like the things you value in life that makes you more one over the other, or like why you should want to be one over the other. And the way that they go about discovering this, or how the characters discover their feelings on this premise, is that the main character is like the like he is in the prodigy line of Santa Claus, so he's like generations down the line, and this is a society where Santa doesn't exist anymore, and basically children are meant to stay children until like a certain age. Like they literally like are children until they are 18 or whatever. They don't sleep because sleeping ages you. They live in this weird obtuse regimen of a lifestyle that basically keeps them children until like a very strict line when they like become an adult. And it's very systemized and weird, and they basically have no agency. But this Sanda character basically shakes it up when he discovers he can transform into Santa Claus, and his whole shtick is like, I'm Santa, so I have to fulfill the wishes of children. And some of his classmates basically are like, please help us, Santa. Like help me figure out uh how to like stay a kid forever. Like how do I do this or that? And it's a very obtuse kind of series. Not too surprising from Itagaki, but yeah, I enjoyed it, but I feel like it needs a little bit more time to cook, just based on the amount of content that was covered in this one season.
Yeah, that's a surprisingly interesting concept for at least a a manga and a show on the outside that looks like it's just about a guy that can turn into a sexy buff Santa when it's what he puts on red clothing or just gets like red paint on him, like kind of a Ranma effect.
Yeah, it has so many weird triggers for it where he either puts on red clothing or if he bleeds on himself, any kind of red that touches him like that, he transforms. And then he has to eat these jelly beans. They're called like baby beans or boy beans or something. And when he eats those, it turns him back into a teenager. It's a very I will say the strangest thing about the show is the type of themes that they are going for with using Santa Claus as an analog for those themes is just like a choice. And I'm hoping it gets a little more clear down the line, but it is just like such a weird analog through which to tell this kind of story.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in a way too, because like one of the coming of age things you get asked a lot about, at least here in United States, Western society, so to speak, is like, well, how old were you when you stopped believing in Santa Claus? And that's kind of seen as your first step towards not adulthood, but maybe like the real world when you stop believing in that. So it is a sort of societal, cultural mark of your childhood ending. So
yeah,
it's definitely a valid way to tell the story. How much you could squeeze out of that is, I think, up for debate. And I applaud, Sanda for definitely trying. Because it is something that would be a hard sell on its face, at least.
It is, especially like once you start watching and you're like, oh, this isn't some just like happy-go-lucky Santa shenanigans. It's like, no, we're trying to, like, these kids like don't know what it means to grow up, or like they don't understand the difference between like being a child or an adult. And yeah, I guess you make a good point that Santa is just like a good like mythical figure that is a defining line between a child and an adult being able to believe in something like that versus like not believing in it.
Yeah, because we really don't have any other things like that. Like nobody ever truly believes in like the Easter Bunny being an actual thing, but Santa is a key separation there that kids honest and for like goodness sake will believe in Santa up until they figure out one way or the other. That lends credence to one of the things that Chris had said in the chat as well, where he had mentioned that this was one of the only shows this season that was trying to say something.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I ranked it so high, because even though it gets kind of muddled in the presenting of its themes, it is one of the few shows I was watching that is trying to say something, and it's trying to say a lot of different things too, because there's the whole flip side of like the main villain is the principal of the school, and he's like 100 years old, but he gets like nonstop cosmetic surgery to make himself look young. So there's like a very weird dichotomy on that too. So it's it's trying to say a lot of different things. And I think at the heart of it is just like finding out what it means to, like not only what it means to be a child or an adult, but like what you have to believe and strive for to like be those things. And yeah, it's trying to do a lot of things, and some of the analog works. Some of it I think is really powerful, and some of it is interesting, especially when they try to make it kind of shonen battle system too, where there's a point where Santa is being trained by one of the counselors who's like an old lady, and she teaches him, he like evolves from regular Santa to Black Santa, and it's like, oh, regular Santa can't like fight any of the naughty like bad kids, but Black Santa sees adults and kids as the same, so he can hit a child. It's like, what? Okay, hold on, wait. What are we doing here? But so yeah, some of it, you know, it's really stretching what it can get away with this strange Sanda power system, but it's definitely swinging for the fences, and I do
Yeah.
appreciate that.
That's interesting that they have someone just getting a bunch of plastic surgery over and over again to preserve their youth, like that one tech guy who gets his like son's blood infused into him all the time.
Yeah. No, it is funny because there is easily like it is saying something about modern beauty and cosmetic standards too, because the thing about this principle is that every part of his body looks perfect except for his hands. They look like withered old pruny, like gross witch fingers. It's like the one thing that like will always show your age, and they show that with another like character, like adult character at some point. But I just think it's so funny because kind of an offshoot thing. But I remember earlier this year seeing like, oh, Chris Kardashian like stuns with her new plastic surgery look, and she like pulled her face back and she's like 70 years old and looks exactly like Kim. But then you see her hands, and her hands are still like old lady hands. So it's like,
Ooh.
I wonder how much like real life like Paru is trying to kind of take a swing at. But yeah, it's trying to do a lot of things, and I do appreciate it for that, because the last thing I want an anime to be is like safe at this point, you know, which seems to be like what most things are going for nowadays. Like, what's the most general audience we can hit with this anime?
Yeah, it's certainly the one that has one of the most interesting premises that I've heard in a while. So as long as it can stick to its guns, it should at least find, I would think, a cult following of sorts.
Yeah, and it looks great too. I mean, Science Saru really translate Itagaki's style well into the character designs, and while the animation isn't crazy, they're definitely during some of the more action heavy scenes, like they do some really crazy stuff visually. So yeah, I was generally pretty impressed with how it looked the whole time. And also the music soundtrack is silly too, because they are like kind of weird takes on Christmas jingles too. So yeah, it's a very strange show, but it definitely kept my attention better than just about anything else I was watching.
Nice. I think worth a shot to check it out, even for the interesting premise alone.
Yeah. And hopefully
Kester, were you
there's
aware
more
of
of it.
this at all or anything like that, or pretty much this is cool
Yeah.
Santa shit?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Just didn't inspire me to watch it, given my cutting way back on new anime this year. So figured I would wait
Also,
and see
Kestrel
if it
hates
was.
Santa, so you know.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I did kind of say I was the one person who didn't watch anything Christmassy in particular, so it checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
I met Paru
Yeah.
this year though. She's nice.
That's awesome. Did you get something signed, or you just met
Yeah,
her at a...
yeah. I got a
That's
little
cool.
sketch.
That's sweet. I gotta finish Beastars now that I think about it.
Yeah, final season, final part, final thing is happening in the next few months, I think.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on that brand, because I
Yeah.
know it was something that is definitely visually different for the season. So I'm glad at least one of us took a chance on it. You are brave.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to be brave for a few things this season.
Right.
So
That's true.
We'll get to that.
That's true. So yeah, before we get to the main event of the evening, let's dive into a show that is truly all done. And
Asterisk.
I know that yeah,
Except for what we just
asterisk.
talked about.
the manga had been done for a little while as well too, and I know that had its own sort of controversies or whatever when it released and things. So I'm not sure if the anime followed suit perfectly or not, but you two can definitely get into the nitty gritty of that, and that's of course My Hero Academia, which celebrated the ending of its final season. Sounds one bonus episode. So yeah, have at it. Was it? It looks like it was good. So that's one strike against the whole, crapped on ending that people were talking about the manga. So
the Peanut Gallery. Yeah,
that was my first reaction. Like, people hated this ending, huh?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I just think there's almost no way to please fans, especially for a long-running, insanely popular thing. Like, it's never going to happen. The sentiment is always going to be like, oh, they couldn't tie up all the loose ends for these 7 other characters or like these 12 other
what
plot
about
lines.
Mushroom Girl?
Yeah. So yeah, no, exactly. So no one's ever gonna be happy, but if we're thinking about just other, huge long running Shonen Jump titles that have come to an end recently, I think MHA did a pretty damn good job of ending and feeling like an ending. So
and it was clearly the ending it has been building up to almost its entire run.
Yeah, exactly. This was not like oh shit, Horikoshi had to veer left real quick to get here. No, yeah, it did what it came to do, and it did it in a timely manner. I feel like Bones figured out the schedule. They the manga ended within the year, right? So the anime also ending within a year of the manga ending. I feel like it's insane to be able to pull that off.
Is that true? I feel like it was a couple of years ago.
Was it 2 years ago? Was it 2023?
No, you're right. Okay, so it's been a year and a half. Yeah, okay.
Okay. I think that's pretty good. I mean,
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, just in terms of the pacing at how they kept up with the manga, goated production. Bless you, Bones. Why don't you animate every other series that needs you? But yeah, no, I mean the final season was super solid.
Yeah, I think the romance between the main characters that was continuing to be built up upon up to the penultimate episode and then went nowhere is the one thing where I was like, that's dumb. If you're gonna abandon it earlier. Jesus. But maybe the bonus one gets into that, so I will reserve my judgment on that piece. The rest of it, I thought it was very well done, quicker than I expected to have it wrap up, because not only was this the first single core season since the first season, but it was a short core, and the last 3 episodes were kind of epilogue. It was the 4th to last episode that had the climax, the ending of the big battle. So it kind of wrapped up the main plot in 8 episodes, which is pretty quick for where it started. So yeah, I thought it had a lot of really high highs, and was definitely a satisfying, rewarding conclusion to everything it's been building up for these almost 10 years now.
Yeah, and I mean, for a series that Power of Friendship was always kind of part of the building blocks, so coming to the end with the whole class there is no one can really count that against it, because it's this whole thing has always been an ensemble thing. I know Deku's the main guy, but Bakugo is also very much the main guy too, and Todoroki is also the main guy. So
yeah. There are 3 tiers. There's Deku's the main character, and then there's those 3 are the main character, and then there's all 20 students of Class A are the main character.
Yeah. And for trying to keep tabs on all of them too. Like, it did a pretty good job.
Yes.
So
I've always been impressed that this is maybe the one series I can point to where you really know every single member of a class.
yeah.
And like, I didn't need to know about Class B in as much detail as, season 5 gave us in its first 12 episodes. But Class A, it's always been, yes, there's no background characters here. Every single one of them does matter. Obviously some more than others, but you will know and remember all 20 of them, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, this is super spoilers, I guess, but it's crazy that All Might never died.
Yeah, that is the craziest thing. He really beat the the sensei sacrifice allegations. It's crazy.
That must have just been the most intentional intent from Horikoshi all along, is to subvert that trope again and again and again, because there are so many times in the series that he is set up to die and even symbolically dies and absolutely should die, but manages to survive through it all.
No, yeah, there were, you can count on both hands the amount of times where All Might could have died right there and it would have been fine, it would have made sense.
Yeah.
The man's beat the allegations every time.
Yeah. And especially the big All Might versus All for One fight in season 3. For thematic weight, they treated it as if he died, basically, for several seasons after. Where, it's such a big deal, there's no All Might anymore. But he's still there, he's still hanging out.
Yeah, but the symbol, died, and or the man remained. But
All
the
Might
symbol
died, but Toshinori Yagi stayed alive.
Yeah.
But then he got a cool suit of armor.
But then he turned into Iron Man.
Anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Captain America died, but then he just became Iron Man anyway.
Yeah. All Might will be in Avengers Doomsday.
Exactly. All Might will return in Avengers Doomsday.
Amazing. So if we're just getting nitty gritty for other little plot threads that capped off the season, I think that easily the other strongest part of this whole series has been the Todoroki family plot, and I'm cool with how that ended too. I feel it would have made sense to just let Dabi die, but I kind of think this eternal atonement thing for the whole family and generally was a really good way to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for Endeavor, great way to kind of give that character his comeuppance, but also show that he's trying to be better. I will say the one plot point that I'm glad it didn't really get too much in the way, but she does bring it up, is the Toga and Uraraka stuff is definitely a point of contention for people, where it kind of felt overblown and unnecessary, and it's does Toga really deserve kind of the send-off treatment that she was getting and the relationship she formed with Ochako? But I mean, it's one plot thread amongst the many that I think wrapped up really well. So yeah, I think overall I was super satisfied with the way the anime ended.
Yeah, and again with Ochako, just the fact that right up until the second to last episode, they were continuing to build up this romance that has been built up since her character was introduced in episode 2 or 3.
He literally chases her down. It's come on.
Big climactic moment, and then cock blocked one more time. And then, okay, well, we're going to spend a whole episode flashing forward to all of them as adults. Surely they'll at least have a frame of them married. Nope, absolutely no acknowledgement whatsoever. So, again, we'll wait for the next episode.
Yeah, I honestly forgot what the chapter covers even. So, like, it'll be refreshing for me too. So, that'll be nice. But yeah, good job, Bones. Good job, everybody.
I think as, a relatively formulaic shonen action, especially superhero series, it kind of does everything you want it to do.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
Yeah, I was honestly expecting Deku to be working in a McDonald's because of all the just put the flies in the bag Deku memes that were going around. I was like, wow, they really must have did him dirty and put him like super normie, like standard, fast food chef gas station, normal people job. And then it turns out that really wasn't the case.
They did him dirty in the sense that like people online, have a problem that they can't like glaze a character for being like Goku level, like they can't at the end of the day be like, yep, he was the greatest hero of all time and will continue to be, and he will win every fight that I get into an argument about online. It's like the way it ended is perfect for his character. Like literally it came all the way back around, and I don't know. People will never be happy. So but they shouldn't be. Like the whole point is that the whole the one for all is it was always going to do this. It's like the way it ended is like it just makes sense. It wouldn't feel satisfying any other way.
Yeah. No, it's definitely much more kind of has greater thematic closure than if he had just continued to, be all powerful forever.
Yeah.
That's not as cool.
Exactly. He can't aura farm anymore.
Yeah. He can't mule anymore. So
don't worry, Deku will also return in Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't get this in time before we started talking about something else, but when you were talking about him working at McDonald's, I just wanted to say that Deku is a part-timer.
That'd be a good spinoff.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, I'm glad it had a good ending, and it wasn't nearly as bad as what people have been talking about. I didn't expect it to be that bad, because that's a pretty rare occurrence, and the internet is always prone to overreaction, but it was nice to have that be confirmed by you guys that it wasn't another very popular anime that completely fumbles the ending. So
I guess
that is very good.
I guess I haven't gotten a complete answer, Brandon, as someone who read the manga. Do you think the anime improved upon the ending? Because, like, Attack on Titan, for example, the anime improved upon it dramatically. Do you think that was the case here at all, or it was just always overblown?
I don't think the anime changed much in terms of how it landed. I do think the way that the amount of content that is covered in the anime, it feels like a better natural progression to the ending. I can see why the final battle, like chapter to chapter, people had different opinions. It was like, oh, like this chapter was amazing, and then they have the one chapter of the tentacle guy, fighting Spinner, and it's like, oh, and then like maybe people have like a way different opinion about that chapter specifically. So I think it improved it just in the sense that like the pacing was like a little smoother.
Yeah.
But the content itself wasn't any different. I just think manga fans are even harder to please than anime fans sometimes. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. No, I think amazing adaptation. Just as good as the manga. But yeah.
No, it's not as good as the manga.
Heyo.
Nice. Nice. Time for everyone's favorite part of the podcast, and that's brand updates on the atrocities that One Punch Man has recently committed.
One punching down.
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't know if it's true or not, but did you see the preview image for the next part of the season?
Oh, it's true.
Is it true? They just
all of the
flipped
slander you heard and seen. It's true.
I saw that they're like they didn't just flip the two images, right? They didn't just mirror the image and then yes, they did.
Right click, flip. Yeah. Oh man. It would have been great to call it one done, man, but no, we're gonna get more, unfortunately. Yeah, man, it's rough because, the first half of it I was just really, really upset. But by the end of it, it was like watching your your 18-year-old dog just like slowly lose its senses, It's like it went from being angry to just being really sad. And I want to say there were flickers of hope, especially because there are some cuts in the later episodes that they do look all right. And it's clear, as I've seen from Twitter, there were people that were, doing like guest animation cuts for the episode that, well, they're like, oh, I'm so happy I got to work on it and stuff. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, the little glimmers of hope are just completely outweighed by the complete and utter dog shit handling of the series. And it's on all fronts, man. Like, yes, it was funny in the beginning when it was Garos PNG sliding down the hill. But yeah, from characters having too many fingers to like certain parts of their costumes being like completely erased, characters being completely erased from panels being literally so like copy pasted from the manga that they show his hairline getting cut off from where the manga panel cut the hair off. It's just like,
yeah, I saw that one. I think Kestrel posted it too, but I saw that one and had to do a double take on it.
It's just like any like shortcutting you thought were impossible were attempted, because unfortunately the people making this were just not given the time or resources to make what I assume they wanted to make. Because like I said, there are tiny glimmers of hope, but it is just so utter dog shit. And like I said, on all fronts, the sound effects are terrible, the pacing is terrible, dialogue feels like it's so like disjointed, the way that it moves between like who's speaking. It's just, and the nonstop like color grading switches of like character with like two neon colors just like plastered over them. It's just it's really hard to think of anything worse than this. And I say that as someone who, back in 2013, 14 was doing their best to watch every single thing airing every season, just because I was like really trying to like get my grasp on like how anime works and like what there is to offer. But this truly beats any bottom of the barrel thing because it is such a fumbling of the bag. Like Bandai couldn't give less of a shit about what they did here, and it's so appalling. Like it's tough, man. Like it's so crazy too, because like the utter opposite work ethic of the guy redrawing one's manga is like, bro, they could have just like posted a TikTok of him like scrolling through his pages and it would have been more engaging than some of these episodes. Like, oh man.
Yeah, it's incredible that they were able to do so little with so much. seems like it's surpassed Berserk 2016 as the worst and most disappointing anime adaptation of a manga of all time.
Oh yeah,
and it's hard to say it's even all that close.
Yeah.
Just 'cause this is such a comedy of errors in a vast amount of ways that, you know, you could highlight just by looking at the images Castro posted in the chat. And I remember, wasn't there some 4Kids style censorship at one point too? Is that true?
Oh yeah, there's a zombie man who's a character that is literally just like a zombie who, you know, gets torn to shreds constantly, and he just like regenerates himself. He's kind of like he gives like Leon Kennedy sort of vibes, but yeah, he's usually looking cool, smoking a cigarette, and they gave him a lollipop. There was also the picture of him, like, it's supposed to be very much probably a homage of sorts to zombies. It's like him torn up after like getting blasted by a character, and like he just looks so cool in the manga, and they just posted like complete black void on his face and like one eyeball, and it's like, oh my
he's
God.
basically a silhouette, isn't he?
Yeah, it's like a silhouette. Oh man, just like utter incompetence on the committee who let this happen. It's just like, I really feel bad for anyone that had to work on this and unjustly probably getting dragged for it, because like clearly they were not able to like make anything out of what they were given.
Yeah, this definitely feels much more like a production management fucking screw job than anything else, because this is JC Staff, right?
Yeah.
And granted, they're not the best studio in the world. Like, no one's gonna say that. And, you know, doing One Punch Man in general may be punching a little bit above their weight class in general compared to some of the stuff they've made in the past, but obviously not this terribly. So this obviously just reeks of no budget, no time, harsh management, terrible managerial decision making, like not really on the animators. It's just obviously easy to beat up on the animators.
For sure. I mean, if you look just as an example at like one of their other biggest IPs is JC Staff, they animate Danmachi, and that show has gone on for what, 5-6 seasons at this point, and it overall always looks gorgeous. So like, it is clearly not a lack of talent at JC Staff. It is just an abysmal handling of resources. Oh man.
As we alluded to, it is getting a second core for season 3. And, you know, typically with the split core that's treated as the same season, it's like, you know, the next season or something. This one, as with some of the other things we talked about, was announced for 2027 as well. So, which, like, it sounds promising, but then that's how it has been with the JC Staff One Punch Man seasons, where it's been years in the making, and then somehow it's still like they're only working on the episode the day before it airs.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people before that announcement for the new season, they were like, you know, maybe there's hope. Maybe there's hope it ends here and they'll announce a new studio for the next part or whatever, all the hopium and copium that anyone could huff. Because the end of this arc leads up to like the biggest fight of the series so far. And in the manga, it is like the most extraordinarily drawn fight I've ever seen in a manga. It is probably the most insane thing I have ever seen drawn on a page between two dudes fighting. And yeah, it's just terrifying to think that that is going to be animated in the style of what I just witnessed for the last 12 weeks.
You're going to see those panels of the manga. They're going to take the paint tool and fill in the white.
Yes.
That's what you're going to get. They're going to shake them around a little bit.
You're going to get maybe like a starburst effect in the background.
Yeah, there's gonna be this anime speed lines.
Yep.
Yep.
A little cutaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, and I'd said this when we had first started talking about it, why would you want it to be amazing in season 4 at this point? Like, if you have to go through season 3 to get there, then what is even the point?
And if it somehow was amazing, it's like, then what are we doing here? Like, what? Why couldn't you had all this time to make that third season? Why couldn't that look like that? Yeah, it's just, it's a damn shame. That's all it is. It's a damn shame.
Yep. It's kind of amazing that they did announce more immediately.
Yeah, you would think
clearly everything is falling apart. You'd think they'd want to at least get their shit together, if not just like never return to it. Try to get someone different working on it. Try to figure something out, or ignore it forever. But
yeah,
they're like more of this, guys. Look forward to it.
Someone at Bandai is just like they got the blockers on. They are just echo chamber. They're like, oh wow, I'm sure this one's doing numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't the biggest fan of season 2 One Punch Man, but that's just because season 1 was just like
Exactly.
lightning in a bottle moment. But if they can make second part of season 3 look anything even close to season 2, that would be incredible at this point. I feel like I should almost do a rewatch of season 2 just to see like how much it fell off, because like JC staff definitely were cooking in aspects during season 2.
Yeah, there were a few decent cuts.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
Exactly. If I knew what was to come, I would have held you tightly. But man, yeah. I don't know what else there is to say, but at least I have some time before I need to go through that again.
Are you going to?
I am. I am
Okay.
definitely. I am 100% going to watch the follow-up.
I
will be here to document.
Well, I'm glad you have at least a year off before you need to subject yourself to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, your effort is greatly appreciated.
Yeah. I'm like Goku in the healing chamber. It's gonna be blowing bubbles for 2 years.
Yeah, recovering from season 3, part 1.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we have a couple more to get to pretty quickly here before we close it out for the evening. So the next one we'll get to is Castro mentioned that it was a little disappointing but still fun little show, and that is the Ginpachi's zany class gag thing. So, Castro, why don't you and Bran talk about that for a little bit, and then we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's still a B- at the end of the day, so it's not as bad as One Punch Man.
No,
that is for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just kind of a nothing show, which is very disappointing given how good all of Gintama is, whether it's being comedic or serious. So it's kind of impressive that, I don't know, a Gintama comedy series can be this unfunny for 12 episodes.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's like the empty husk. It's like the cicada has, molted its shell and gone on with its life, but we're here to point and laugh at what remains. Another Bandai joint, but this is their in-house studio. It's crazy to think that this got better treatment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's crazy to think that literally everything in the anime industry is getting better treatment than One Punch Man.
Yeah.
But it's still like, yeah, it's, I guess just like One Punch Man is just banking on the name recognition. That's kind of the case here too. There's not much effort being put forward. It's a perfectly serviceable production, which you certainly can't say about One Punch Man season 3. But it's nothing beyond that. The humor is nowhere near the level of pretty much any episode of the real series. And yeah, the production itself, like the humor, I mentioned this before, really does feel like, first 12 to 26 episodes of Gintama back in 2006. Just like very simple, lines filled in with colors, not a lot of cinematography going on. Certainly no stellar animation, nothing jumping out in terms of plot or humor or characters.
Yeah,
That's all kind of like, the Flandersation of these characters. Here's the one gag you remember that was funny in the original series. Let's just use that as the basis for a joke, but not actually make it funny.
Yeah, the Flandersation of it is the perfect way to encapsulate what it is. It is Simpsons season 37, It's just like all of these characters are multifaceted characters, but as they are in this show, it's like, you remember that one gag? I'm that one gag guy.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for a given character is, that becomes their entire identity throughout this.
Right. It's like, oh, remember Hattori? Yep, he's got hemorrhoids, all right.
Uh-huh.
Don't worry, he'll let you know.
Yep. Yeah, it's not like the main series, which manages to keep these running gags going with like new, interesting, creative jokes. It's just the fact that he has hemorrhoids. That's the line. That's the joke. That's the punchline. It's not like, a running gag used in some new way. It's just, yeah, that's the be-all end-all of the humor.
And in the original, too, like, it felt like the characters were having conversations and the comedy was naturally rolling in their delivery to and from each other, whereas, like, this is like they're standing in a line reading the cue card and then everyone else does their reaction to it, So, yeah, it sucks to see this happen, but I mean, what can you expect from, a spin-off that is not being written by the guy that made it funny? So,
yeah. And like I had said, early in the series as well, like the first episode, the like pre-OP scene was by far the best and funniest and most original of the entire series, which is unfortunate because it's the first thing that you see and then it's all downhill from there. But that must be, the original content from the anime staff, which has clearly some idea of how to make Gintama funny, but the rest of it must have just been so direct from the novels that are already just a extremely drawn out extrapolation of a gag from an omake from the manga parodying a particular Japanese live action after school drama type show. So to try to extend that across an entire series, and then not add in any extra bits that work better for anime like the original series did, it just really kind of lost out on all that potential.
Yeah. And one of the other, like, speaking of, like, one of the few things I do like about it, the running gag of Takasugi just, like, turning his alarm clock off and going back to bed, like, not a lot there, but, like, it's somehow, to me, funnier than most of what's going on in the show.
Interesting.
But, yeah, and one of the other things about Gintama, too, is that it was really good at, loosening you up with the gags and then, like, hitting you with with like some sad stuff.
Mhm.
And I feel like any attempt at that so far too has just kind of fallen flat. There was like there was the guy that was gonna like jump off the school and like, I don't know, Ginsan's whole lesson to him was kind of like, oh, okay, like whatever. And then there was the episode with Shinpachi was going to leave the school with like the most obvious what's gonna happen of all time leading up to the end of that episode. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It really none of the attempted emotional spots have hit either. So it's just like, man, there's nothing here really.
Yeah, it definitely tried to follow that formula, and I haven't seen the original Kinpachi Sensei at all, but it does feel like the drama and emotion that they're going for is that kind of really base formulaic after school special of just no nuance to it, just trying to deliver a message to you very bluntly and obtusely, and that doesn't really work, especially since they're kind of, it's that with Gintama skins over it, right? It's like, okay, here's this formula, and then we'll throw this character's most recognizable running gag on top of it, and it just does not blend very well. And when you know the kind of depth and nuance that these characters can have, seeing them just so flat, both in terms of comedy and character drama, it's very unfortunate. Like, if they had made this not a Gintama series, then it would have been mediocre but less disappointing, because there's less promise of certainly that the comedy will hit, because that has been always the case with Gintama, is that at least it'll be funny even if it goes nowhere. But yeah, eventually the main series does go so many other places emotionally that all of those things are kind of it's only a disservice to have you naturally comparing it to the original series that it's obviously banking on the recognition of.
Yeah. It's like all of the characters got pluribus and they're trying to appease you as best as they can. And they're like, this is what made you laugh before, right?
Yes. Oh my God.
But it's like, no, there's not an honest human effort behind your attempt to remind me of the things I loved.
Yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned this when I recommended Pluribus, but that has always kind of read as an allegory of AI to me. And that's kind of what this feels like. Like, you could have fed an AI the Gintama series and said, make a high school spin-off of this. And this feels like what it would have spit out.
Yeah. Chat GPT, but the G stands for Ginpachi Sensei.
Yeah. And I've said the same thing about like Disney's Wish, and that's a much worse film. But it has the same kind of feeling of here's the things that people like about Disney movies. Let's not actually take any lessons from the nuance that made that work. Let's just kind of grind out the most generic, most kind of scrubbed clean of any originality aggregation of those previous successes. And yeah, this is not nearly as egregious, but it feels similar in that concept.
Yep. Which beloved series that I love will be tarnished next?
God, it better not be Frieren. Jesus Christ.
No. Guess we'll find out soon.
Oh, God.
I felt like such a scrub. We'll get to our last show in a moment. But I felt like such a scrub for the Frieren stuff recently, because like a picture was going around about character design changes of Frieren, and they're like, has the fans talking? What do you think? And I'm like, should they put purple in her hair? And that's it. where they're like, oh, the lines are softer, she's a little bit wider. I'm like, man, I don't give a fuck.
He's a little wider.
As the fans talking is the most meaningless clickbait article title of all time.
Yeah. I was like, they changed your hair a little, but I mean, people get haircuts all the time, so why does that matter?
Yeah.
But I was like, am I supposed to be noticing something or what? Because I definitely don't. But... All right, we got one more that we can cover real quick before we cut off for the evening here, and I already forgot how to pronounce it appropriately. So
Gachi Akuta.
There you go, Gachi Akuta. So I think this is one that, I mean, Crunchyroll keeps wanting me to watch it, but I have seen, yeah, but I have seen some positive press for it where people are like, this could be a sneaky hit, like a diamond in the rough, so to speak. But you guys both watched it, so is that true, or what are we looking at here?
Diamond in the trash.
Yeah,
maybe a little more
exactly.
I think it's good. I think, you know, when I first heard of Gachi Akuta, I saw some panels from the manga, and I was like, oh, this series has some really raw art, like really thick, bold lines and interesting character designs. And I think the anime translates it well. And I think so far the series is good. It's just not like mind-blowing or doing something that's like super different, but it's good at what it's doing. So like for me right now, like I think having not read the manga, I'm sure the adaptation was like done really well. As I said, I trust Bones, but just like the show itself still has a lot to offer in terms of what it's setting up for the main character, and yeah, I like it so far, but I feel like it still needs some time to like really sink in for me.
Yeah, I think I had some questions about whether it was worthwhile throughout its run, but I think by the end of it, it kind of proved itself at least worth continuing to check out for the time being. It's definitely nothing groundbreaking storytelling-wise. Aesthetically, it is a bit different. It's nice to see something just be so like intentionally dirty in the way that it is. And yeah, it's, you know, the one show that you can say is literally trash and be correct and actually not be insulting it.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I agree that I like that the show is good at showing off that like it is, you know, dirty. They literally live at like the bottom of like a trash pile world. But I think that in itself doesn't do it many favors in terms of the art direction for the show, for the just like the backgrounds in general are like not that great to look at. Like when you compare it to something like Dorohedoro, which has like a similarly like gritty world to it. But that show, I mean, that one also different production style with like the 3D characters, but like the backgrounds themselves were like very beautifully painted, and there were color pops that like kept it engaging, whereas, you know, this kind of sometimes feels like a mid 2000s you know, army shooter game where like you're playing like Call of Duty 6, and you know, it's it can feel like you're just like looking at the same, or like you're playing Fallout 3. But I think that is a disservice to like the rest of it, where the characters themselves have great designs and have great color coding, and they pop on the screen, which I think that's what helps set it apart, is that like the characters really pop. And I feel like it's still trying to figure out its power system as well. So I think that's the other thing that's hard to like get super invested in. Where a lot of these shows very early on, they tell you like this is how the world works, this is how people's powers work. They've given you an idea of what the powers, like what people's powers can be, but there isn't like strict rules to them yet in the sense of like, Hunter x Hunter, like people have powers that follow a very rigid thing, but they can be a lot of things. Whereas this one, like it can be a lot of things, but we don't really know why yet. And the main character, even by the end of this 24 episode season, his powers are still kind of developing, and you're learning, oh wait, he can do more than what we thought he could. So I feel like the show is good. There's still just like a lot it needs to sink its teeth into more to like really get people invested.
Yeah, I do think that it's strange to have committed to so little by the end of Two Cores. But I also think that for maybe most shonen action series, don't have a great grasp on what the power system is going to eventually be early on. Yeah. They definitely evolve through a succession of ass pulls that they can maybe somewhat justify that, yeah, this kind of fits what we were saying at the beginning, but very often not all that much. Like, I don't know of any shonen battle manga where you can read chapter 1 and think that they had any idea where the powers were going.
It's fair.
But, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it taking its time too, just because, like, lots of series like this used to work like that. It's just we're in a time now where usually by 12 episodes, we have gone through like a complete major arc already. And like this one took its time getting to where it was. And, it did it well enough for me to hang on. Like you said, there was definitely parts like in the middle where I was like, am I going to keep up with this? I thought I was going to enjoy it more than I did.
Exactly.
But it was still good enough.
But yeah, I think it has a good kind of few episodes to end on, and then they immediately announced the second season, so we know that we're going to continue. So I think that's going for it at least. And yeah, as long as it stays with Bones, we can have faith in Bones.
Yes.
Yeah, and I agree with what you were saying earlier about the dirty, kind of ugly aesthetic is refreshing, but being ugly on purpose doesn't mean you're not ugly. So it's not the most pleasant to look at, especially when you know how good Bones can make things look. But I appreciate that it looks different and that it has this major graffiti aesthetic as part of its whole identity. I will say, while the character designs are mostly very interesting and very distinctive, the one girl whose design is just like her hips go out into a point that's like twice the width of her waist immediately above them gets very distracting when it shows like a close-up.
Yeah, it's giving a little Boichi character design, but
right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But hey, the author, she also introduced her self-insert character at the end of the season too, which I think is funny. But yeah. I think if the next, I don't know how the story progresses, but I think if they do like a second season with like a nice meaty 12 episode arc, this one can lock some people in.
Yeah, for sure. Which, I mean, the lack of kind of the formula so far is, again, making it somewhat distinct, but, it's a formula for a reason. It works.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on.
Cool. Glad to hear that it actually lived up to some of what I was reading about it being a sneaky good type of show, considering I didn't hear anything about it until Crunchyroll started shoving it down my throat. Alrighty, so I think that basically covers most everything that we were watching, at least in some part together, and then obviously Bran taking the one punch bullet for us so we could get that report from him. So I think we can go ahead and start wrapping it up for the evening. So did you two have any recommendations or anything that you wanted to talk about in that way before we let everyone know where they can find us?
Yeah, I can
Go ahead,
recommend
Cass.
some stuff. So, well, if it's still playing around you, I recommend seeing Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair, especially if you happen to be near one of the few theaters that's showing it in 70mm. That's aged very well and goes very well as a full 4.5-hour experience. And in keeping with the general theme of this podcast, they added a whole new anime segment, or greatly extended the existing anime segment from 22 years ago. And yeah, it looks great. Very interesting to see the kind of different aesthetics of 2003 and 2025 right next to each other. But it's not too distracting. So yeah, I would check out that if it's still in theaters. And also will recommend Heated Rivalry on HBO Max, which is nothing like, well, I guess you could compare it to maybe Yuri on Ice in the sense that it's very gay and on ice.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of a sneaky, very deep romance hidden behind like the first 4 episodes of just hockey and sex. But the last 2 episodes, very sincere, incredible character depth. So yeah.
Heated Rivalry is what would happen if you let the fans of MHA write the manga, and you let the Deku Bakugo fanships like sail.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you'd get.
Yeah, all of your unfulfilled needs of bitter rivals actually fucking in secret are fulfilled tenfold in those first 4 episodes. It's not a spoiler, it's essentially the premise of the show.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yep. So those are my recommendations for the first one is a little bit anime, but not really anime at all. Trying to think about good home video releases for anime that have come out recently. Perfect Blue just got a nice collector's edition, 4K. I think it's the only so far 4K release of that film in the US. And it's a very nice collector's edition. It's pretty expensive, but it's like $30 off on Amazon right now. So if you're into that, that's a nice set to have.
I'm into that.
Yeah. I think that's all I got.
Okay. I guess my movie rec would be go see Marty Supreme. That was fun.
Cool.
Love me a good safety flick.
Ping Pong the animation, the movie.
Yeah. No, exactly. Timmy Chalamet has the sauce. I believe in him. And then in terms of anime recommendations, go watch One Punch Man. Suffer the same fate I did. And then this is also a recommendation because I need to get on it myself. But I need to watch, what is it, 17 through 26 or whatever? The Fujimoto, Tatsuki Fujimoto, like short anthology anime series. So, yeah, I'd like to watch those to at least maybe consider them in my year-end roundup, but we'll see. I've yet to get around to that or the new Star Wars Visions ones.
Yep.
Mainly, I just want to watch that last one, Black, I think is what it's called. But
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. That's all I've got, though.
Nice. I'm only going to re-recommend this due to my wife getting me the box set of the first 6 volumes, but read Witch Hat Atelier before the anime comes out.
True.
Because it is magnifique. So I now have to start collecting it physically because
Nice.
of a Christmas gift. So I'm fully invested whether I want to be or not.
Did you see that book they're putting out for it?
Yeah, the art book?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was in my news feed. I will not be buying it.
Oh, man. I don't even read the series and I want to buy that.
Yeah.
I don't care that much to have an art book that probably costs $187. But I will continue buying the volumes of the manga and such. They come with art cards. I got some special art.
It's $24.
Okay. That's doable.
That's doable. I don't believe you, but it's doable. Those art books are never that cheap. Or it's $24 and then I'm going to click on it and I'll see the shipping. And then
Or more.
$24 free shipping.
Oh, I guess in the same vein as Kane here,
The King vein, if you will.
The Kane vein. Go read Steel Ball Run while you still can say you read it before you watched it. Because that's going to come soon too.
It is the one part that Viz actually started publishing the manga before it got an anime.
It's crazy we're at that point.
Yeah, that also, I didn't mention it, but that got an official release date, which was March something.
Nice.
And not to derail us here, but it is Netflix, but it kind of, it's like the first stage.
Yeah, it's sounding like it could be episodic.
Which, implies that perhaps it will be one episode at a time.
There's hope.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
There's hope.
But yes, I also recommend Steel Ball Run. It is excellent. And while we're talking about catching up on stuff, go watch and rewatch Frieren before the next season.
True. I should probably do that.
Yeah. Get yourself caught up on how racist she is.
Yeah, catch yourself up on the discourse.
Yeah.
The never-ending discourse.
Alrighty, well, Kestrel, you want to let everyone know where they can find you and where they can find us, and we can wrap it up for the evening.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at FullMetalKioma and on Blue Sky at kestrelswift.bsky.social. Yeah, I don't think I have really published anything on the site recently, so nothing to plug there. But as for the podcast, you can subscribe, rate, and review anywhere that you might find a podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, etc. All your podcatchers, we should be there. And you can find us on fandompost.com, get in contact with us on social media, follow our stuff, share it around. Let us know any feedback you have on Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky at Fandom Post Radio. Or just via email, fandompostradio@gmail.com if you're old school and hate social media, as you probably should. And if you hate podcast platforms, as you also probably should, you can always subscribe to the RSS feed. So, always options. That is how you can find us.
Nice. You can find me at HealthShakeBrando on socials, but as Kestrel said, I hate socials, so not much going on there.
Nice. Same here. No socials. As
Correct
the
answer.
good Lord intended.
Yep.
So it's just here. But as always, thanks everyone for listening out there. Hopefully you found your own little diamonds in the rough for this season if it wasn't MHA or something along those lines. And next season's starting up soon, and we've definitely got some bangers on the way. So if this
some Slayers even.
Yeah, and if this season didn't have anything for you, I'm sure the next one will have definitely have something on the docket that will suit your fancy. But yep, everyone out there, enjoy the rest of the holidays. For people out there still celebrating, be safe, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
Bye bye.